Welcome to NTD Evening News. Our top story tonight, 2 suspects have been arrested in connection with the Louvre heist investigation. Details on where prosecutors say they made the arrests and more. 3 countries in 6 days, a trade deal and a peace deal. Details on what to look out for on President Trump's Asia trip. Updates from Portland and a long-running encampment outside of an immigration, customs and enforcement facility. Correspondent Jason Blair reports from the scene. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent telling media today a trade framework with China has been reached. A guest joins us to unpack what that means for the anticipated face-to-face meeting between President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Can we resistance train the brain the way that we do the body to keep it running healthier for longer? Vital Science Brendon Fallon shares insights from a professor of medicine and brain health expert. And with the hustle and bustle of modern life, one ancient institution is still standing strong: Athenaeums. Find out how these historic libraries continue to offer a sense of belonging and remains a living museum of knowledge.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Police have reportedly arrested 2 suspects as part of the Louvre heist investigation. According to the Paris prosecutor, one of the men was detained at Charles de Gaulle Airport, preparing to board a flight to Algeria. Reports say the suspects were already known to police. In the brazen 7-minute heist, thieves made off with items worth over $100 million. The items came from the Louvre's Apollo Gallery on the upper floor last weekend. The wing houses the French crown jewels. President Trump, on the first leg of his high-stakes Asia trip, oversees a peace agreement between Cambodia and Thailand. And in Malaysia's capital, just days before his expected meeting with CCP leader Xi Jinping, the president strikes 2 more rare earth deals, this time with South Asian countries. NTD's Washington correspondent Mari Otsu has more from Kuala Lumpur.
This is a momentous day for all of the people of Southeast Asia as we sign a historic agreement to end the military conflict between Cambodia and Thailand.
President Trump, a little less than 2 weeks after signing that Gaza ceasefire deal in Egypt alongside other Middle East leaders, is now here in Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia, where he's signing another peace agreement, this time between Cambodia and Thailand.
I have nominated President Donald J. Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize.
The joint peace declaration calls for Thailand to release 18 Cambodian prisoners of war and for both sides to agree to removing heavy weapons from the border area. It also calls for observers from South Asian countries, including Malaysia, to ensure that the peace prevails.
The world needs leaders who promote peace strongly. To achieve that, you have to break some rules, as you did today. When President arrived, he asked me to join him in the car. I said that's against the security and protocol rules. And he was delighted to break the rules, and I... It was a nice ride.
And before inviting Prime Minister Anwar into the beast, President Trump welcomes the Emir of Qatar onto Air Force One during a refuel in Doha.
I don't know what's more important, being beloved or respected. Both. You have a preference? Because you have both. You're one of the few.
Celebrating their partnership in advancing Middle East peace while threatening Hamas to return the bodies of the deceased hostages.
Hamas will be not hard to take care of. It will be very quickly.
Arriving in Kuala Lumpur, a fighter jet welcomes Air Force One into Malaysian airspace, and President Trump is greeted by the Prime Minister and local officials. Meanwhile, the president is signing a flurry of deals on trade and critical minerals with Thailand, Cambodia, and Malaysia.
Look at his signature. How interesting is that? Right? It's very different. It's very good. Very artistic.
Tariffs will stay at 19% for most imports from these 3 South Asian countries. But under these agreements, Thailand and Malaysia will play a bigger role in the U.S.'s critical mineral supply amid China tightening its rare earth exports.
Now, President Trump is set to depart Malaysia for Japan Monday morning, where he's expected to meet with the new Japanese Prime Minister and Japan's Emperor. And on Thursday, President Trump is set to have a meeting with CCP leader Xi Jinping on the sidelines of APEC in South Korea. Reporting from Kuala Lumpur, Mari Otsu, NTD News.
Those who caught the World Series broadcast also saw a Canadian ad criticizing President Trump's use of tariffs. The ad's earlier debut already led to Trump saying he would raise tariffs on Canada and cease trade talks. Canada's Toronto Blue Jays are facing the Los Angeles Dodgers in Major League Baseball's World Series. So far, Ontario, Canada has allowed the ad to air twice during the World Series. Ontario Premier Doug Ford released the ad and said it would stop airing by Monday. The ad features President Ronald Reagan seemingly disparaging the use of tariffs. President Trump hinted online that the ad was meant to interfere with an upcoming Supreme Court hearing on his use of tariffs. The ad campaign cost $75 million to run. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute has taken issue with it. The organization says the ad misrepresents Reagan's words and that Ontario did not ask for permission to use the recording. Premier Ford said the ad is factual and that he thinks Reagan was the best U.S. president. A long-running encampment outside of an immigration, customs, and enforcement facility in Portland has been taken down by police, and a man was arrested after a journalist was assaulted near the facility. NTD Correspondent Jason Blair is in Portland now. Good evening, Jason. What is the current situation after the encampment got taken down?
Hey, Tiffany. Yeah, so this has been a long-running encampment in some form or another for about 4 or 5 months now, right across the street from the ICE facility in Portland, Oregon. And the police did come by last night to make them take it down. And here I do have a clip, actually, of what the current state of the encampment is just moments ago. When I took it, you can see that there's a small canopy back up already, and a lot of the stuff is still strung out on the sidewalk. However, I do have footage of it from last night. As you can see, when they were taking it down, when the police arrived, there were a lot of tents up, and like I said, this had been going on for about 4 or 5 months. And the main reason the police wanted to take it down is they need to keep the sidewalk open so people can use it. And a police sergeant said last night that they are going to be coming into the area more often to get more strict with enforcing laws in this area for, quote, the next couple of days. And this includes cracking down on public drinking, disorderly conduct, and jaywalking. And he said if someone is blocking traffic, that it will be disorderly conduct in the second degree, and someone can actually go to jail for that, which blocking traffic has been an ongoing issue with the facility. Cars are constantly driving in and people are spilling over in the sidewalk, and I think this encampment was contributing to that quite a bit. The encampment was also kind of a source of lots of fights. Sometimes people, especially when some of the pro-ICE supporters would try to walk through that area, there would often be a confrontation leading to sometimes a physical altercation with injuries. Back to you.
And Jason, I understand that an arrest was made after a journalist was assaulted. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Tiffany, unfortunately, this kind of thing is not too uncommon. A journalist named Cam Higbee said that he was assaulted, and also his phone was stolen and smashed while he was filming in the area. He's often at the ICE facility filming and reporting on the situation. He says that he regularly gets death threats when he's out doing this, and this isn't the first time that he's been attacked, but a gentleman was arrested related to this assault, and he was taken into custody by the Portland police. And just to give you another example of kind of the things that have happened here, another journalist said that just the other day she was eating in a restaurant with some of her friends, and one of the protesters regularly at the ICE facility recognized them and started live streaming them sat next to them at the table, started live streaming their private conversation. Eventually, this person was asked to leave the hotel. But this is just some of the interesting things that have gone on in the area involving journalists. Back to you.
All right, Jason, thanks for that, and stay safe out there. From strikes on suspected drug boats and major new sanctions on Russia to a rare earth minerals deal with Australia, NTD's Dana Monahan has your White House Week in review.
U.S. forces hit 2 suspected drug smuggling vessels in the Eastern Pacific, killing 5 people.
If people want to stop seeing drug boats blow up, stop sending drugs to the United States.
We're allowed to do it. It's in international waters. If we don't do it, we're going to lose hundreds of thousands of people.
Senator Rand Paul and others have questioned the legality of the strikes. The U.S. announced new sanctions on Russia this week in an effort to limit the Kremlin's ability to fund its war machine.
These are very big. Those are against their two big oil companies, and we hope that they won't be on for long. We hope that the war will be settled.
Trump also canceled a possible meeting with Vladimir Putin in Budapest, saying,
"It didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel like we were going to get to the place we have to get." So.
Construction has begun on a 90,000 square foot White House ballroom that will seat between 650 and 1,000 people. It will be funded by President Trump and other donors.
This is going to be probably the finest ballroom ever built, and we're doing it no cost to the country. In order to do it properly, we had to take down the existing structure.
Critics are pushing back on the reconstruction, including the National Trust for Historic Preservation, which called for a halt to the project pending a public review process. Vice President J.D. Vance was in Israel this week.
These are days of destiny, and we're very excited to sit down and work together on the Gaza peace plan. We have a very, very tough task ahead of us, which is to disarm Hamas, but rebuild Gaza to make life better for the people in Gaza, but also to ensure that Hamas is no longer a threat.
President Trump and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on October 20th signed a rare earths agreement at the White House.
In about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them. They'll be worth about $2.
The two countries plan to jointly invest more than $3 billion in critical minerals projects over the next 6 months.
It's really nice. Thank you. Come on out.
President Trump celebrated the Indian holiday Diwali in the White House.
Thank you all. Thank you.
FBI Director Kash Patel called it an honor to mark the occasion in the Oval Office.
Indian Americans around the world and Indians around the world are thrilled that you are such a profound leader in sharing this diversity with the world.
Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
People in Jamaica are being told to seek shelter. Hurricane Melissa is expected to strengthen into a Category 5 storm late Sunday into Monday. This morning, the storm was a Category 4 hurricane with winds hitting up to 140 miles an hour. The center of the hurricane is located 110 miles south of Kingston, Jamaica. It's moving westward at just 3 miles per hour. Forecasters say Melissa will cause catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides before potentially devastating winds arrive Monday night and Tuesday morning. The U.S. mainland is not expected to be directly threatened by Melissa. However, the U.S. East Coast next week could see rough surf and rip currents. Pressure is mounting in Congress. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program in over 25 states will stop distributing benefits on November 1st as a result of the government shutdown. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez has this week's developments on Capitol Hill.
This is an extraordinarily dangerous moment. An authoritarian president proceeding to attack free speech, attack free press, weaponize the Department of Justice, and use it against those who disagree with him.
In the middle of the second longest government shutdown in U.S. history, Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley took to the Senate floor and spoke for 23 hours, delaying votes and accusing the president of being an authoritarian.
I'm not listening. I don't know what he's saying. I think it's purely performance art. He's trying to put on a show for his base back home, his political base.
Congressional Republicans gave Democrats an opportunity to support a bill to pay federal workers and active duty military personnel during the government shutdown.
Air traffic controllers, some people call the policemen of our skies, they have been showing up at work without pay. And news reports have suggested that these men and women are seeking outside employment just to keep their families afloat.
All but 3 Democratic senators voted against the bill, and congressional Democrats doubled down on their messaging that it is President Trump who is to blame for the government shutdown and that they, Democrats, are fighting for increased healthcare spending.
Donald Trump is the president. Republicans control the House and the Senate. They've made the decision to shut down the government, and they are the ones who consistently have taken adverse actions, made clear that they want to hurt the American people.
What shutting down the government has to do with this, I have no idea. I mean, why you would say to veterans now you can't get health care, why you would say to 650,000 Missourians who are about to miss food stamp payments, you can't eat. How does that help anybody? That doesn't help anybody.
Thus far, only a total of 5 Senate Democrats have shown a willingness to cross party lines and support initiatives to alleviate or end the government shutdown.
I do think in the Democrat senators' hearts, they want to vote to open the government up. They don't want to hurt the American people. But we've seen they have a radical base, a base that's out of control. And if they vote to open up the government, what's going to happen is they are going to be primaried. They are going to be attacked. Maybe their funding might dry up.
I think they're collectively at this point, I just want to get the government open at this point. It's not blaming or who's winning or who's losing, because they guarantee who is losing, and that's Americans right now.
Democratic Senator Fetterman, Cortez Matos, Angus King, Raphael Warnock, and John Ossoff have been the Democrats who have crossed party lines to either support a continuing resolution to reopen government or support a bill to pay federal workers and active duty military personnel. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
Fighting between Russia and Ukraine continues. At least 3 civilians are reported dead today. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pozdar has the war update.
Russia reportedly targeted Ukraine's capital with drones overnight on Saturday, killing 3 people in their homes. Ukrainian officials say at least 29 people are wounded, including 7 children.
I heard shots fired. Then there was an explosion. We decided to flee from the flat because there was very strong smoke inside.
Just on Tuesday, President Trump canceled plans for a second summit between him and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump said he didn't want it to be a, quote, wasted meeting. He explained the decision on Saturday.
We're going to have to know that we're going to make a deal. I'm not going to be wasting my time. I've always had a great relationship with Vladimir Putin, but this has been very disappointing. I thought this would have gone long before peace in the Middle East.
Meanwhile, in Russia, a spokesman says Moscow's armed forces will respond forcefully if Western allies strike deep inside Russia.
There's a lot of speculation going on right now. Zelensky himself recently stated that they allegedly possess the military potential to strike deep into Russia. Naturally, our armed forces and Russia will respond harshly to this.
This comes after the U.S. stopped short of providing Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles. Arian Pozdar, NTD News.
Former Vice President Kamala Harris is hinting she may run for president again. Her comments aired in an interview today. In an interview with the BBC, Harris said, quote, "I am not done." It marked her clearest indication yet that she might launch another presidential campaign in 2028, following her 2024 defeat to President Trump. While Harris said she has not made a final decision, she still views herself as an active player in politics. Coming up, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent telling media today a trade framework with China has been reached. An expert joins us to unpack what that means for the anticipated face-to-face meeting between President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. And can we resistance train the brain the way that we do the body to keep it running healthier for longer? Vital Signs' Brendon Fallon shares insights from a professor of medicine and brain health expert. More in just a minute after this quick break. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. President Trump is kicking off his first Asia trip of his second term, spanning 3 countries over 6 days, and includes a peace deal in a high-stakes trade negotiation with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. NTD's Flora Hua has the updates.
Top trade officials from Washington and Beijing have finished their 5th round of talks, but this round is different and is slated to lay the groundwork for President Trump and Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping to speak face-to-face on Thursday. Here's what Bessent said on NBC's Meet the Press after the meeting.
I believe that we have the framework for the 2 leaders to have a very productive meeting for both sides, and I think it will be fantastic for U.S. citizens, for U.S. farmers, and for our country in general.
Bessent also told the press that the threat of an additional tariff hike on Chinese goods is, quote, effectively off the table. He disclosed that China has shown willingness to 1. Stop sending the precursor chemicals for fentanyl to the U.S., and 2. Make substantial orders of U.S. soybeans and other agricultural goods, and most importantly, ease its sweeping export controls on rare earths. China agreeing to all of these conditions may sound too good to be true, but Trump's trade representative, Ambassador Greer, said earlier today that the trade deal is really going to depend on the two leaders. Next up, Asian countries are witnessing a historic peace deal this weekend. President Trump attended the signing ceremony of the peace deal between prime ministers from Thailand and Cambodia. Earlier in July, deadly confrontations broke out between the two Southeastern Asian countries' borders. President Trump warned to halt trade deals with them if they didn't stop the escalation. More on Trump's Asia trip. The president is also set to meet Japan's new prime minister, saying he hopes to restore a relationship similar to the one he had with the late Japanese leader Shinzo Abe. And for leaders at the Korean Peninsula, besides the South Korean president, President Trump has signaled openness to meet with the North Korean regime leader Kim Jong-un, citing the importance to maintain communication with a country who holds a large nuclear arsenal. Flora Hua, NTD News.
And joining us to unpack the latest in trade negotiations is Rod D. Martin, the founder and CEO of Martin Capital. Rod, thank you so much for joining us. Always great to see you. Now, Treasury Secretary Bessent said the talks with his Chinese counterparts were, quote, very good, and that the escalation in tariffs on China was effectively off the table. First, what do you make of this and what it means for the expected talks between Trump and Xi?
Well, first, I want to just point out that Scott Bessent is possibly the most effective Treasury Secretary we've had in my lifetime, and certainly an able negotiator. So it doesn't surprise me that he was effective in Malaysia. This had to be effective for both China and the United States. China is in a box. There's just no getting out of the fact that they've built their entire economy on exports, and we are the largest consumer market in the world. There is no possible combination of countries that can replace the U.S. market. They did this craziness a couple of weeks ago, threatening with rare earths. That was a negotiation stunt. That actually, in some measures, was a page out of The Art of the Deal. And I don't blame them for that at all. But now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. I think we're going to get the deal that the president and Treasury Secretary Bessent hoped for. And we'll see that in coming days.
On the other side, Chinese trade envoy Li Chenggang telling media that talks covered a range of issues from export controls, Section 301 port fees, tariff suspension, etc. He also indicated a consensus on fentanyl. How are you reading his remarks? How likely are we to see the 20% fentanyl-related tariff on China reduced?
Well, I think that's going to be key because as things stand, as you know, China is imposing a 30% tariff on the United States. We're imposing a 55% on them, and 20 of that is fentanyl. They have to get serious about it. It is as though they are waging their own opium war against the United States. And the United States did not fight the opium war against China. So it's entirely misplaced, but it also has to stop. And there are things we can do with the Mexicans and things we can do with Canada, but China actually has to stop shipping the precursors for fentanyl, and they have to stop now. I think we'll see a big push on that, and I think we'll get it done.
Now, President Trump has said in the past that he would bring up the case of imprisoned Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai. Now, human rights have often fallen to the wayside during trade talks with China in the past. How likely are we to see a focus on human rights abuses by China this time?
I think we have a decent chance of it. This president has been extremely intent on human rights. You saw that with the release of the Christian pastor in Turkey during his first term. You've seen it with his efforts to get hostages released in various parts of the world. I think we'll see that here too. And it's got to be part of a comprehensive deal. if we're going to get to a point where we can have normalized trade relations with China, they're going to have to actually play ball on this too.
And expanding on that, rare earths, fentanyl, and soybeans, of course, have been making headlines lately when it comes to trade with China. I want to first play a soundbite from President Trump on Air Force One Saturday.
President, can you talk about what you hope to walk away from with the meeting with President
China?
Xi? Yes. What are you hoping to walk away?
I think a complete deal. I want our farmers to be taken care of, and he wants things also. We're going to be talking about fentanyl, of course. You know, fentanyl is killing a lot of people. It comes from China, and we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about a lot of things. I think we have a really good chance of making a very comprehensive deal.
President Trump talking about a comprehensive deal there. In your view, what would be in a comprehensive deal?
Well, it certainly would include agriculture. There's no question. We're one of the world's largest food exporters. They are one of the larger food importers. It's just nonsense that they wouldn't be buying from us. And if they really want to integrate these economies in a way that is lasting and serves the interests of both countries, that's got to be on the table. So the president's focus is entirely correct. I think we'll see that out of the Chinese as well.
And Rod, taking a step back here, many have been calling out China's unfair trade practices over the years and its history of breaking promises. Now, if a deal is reached this time, what type of enforcement do you see the U.S. adding to ensure that China follows through? What would accountability look like here?
Well, it'll be more interesting to see what happens after this president is no longer in office. But as long as this president is in office, if they cheat, he's just going to smack them with 100% tariff or whatever pops into his head that he thinks will be effective. They really must not play games with this president. He means business, and he will enforce his deals. So it may be a bit unpredictable, but it will be effective.
Well, Rod Martin, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up, can we resistance train the brain the way that we do the body to keep it running healthier for longer? Vital Signs' Brendon Fallon shares insights from a professor of medicine and brain health expert. And with the hustle and bustle of modern life, one ancient institution is still standing strong, Athenaeums. Find out how these historic libraries continue to offer a sense of belonging and remains a living museum of knowledge. Details right after this quick break. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Starting in January, Social Security recipients are set to see an average $56 increase in their monthly checks. That's after a 2.8% cost of living adjustment. The current increase comes after a 2.5% boost in 2025, a 3.2% jump in 2024, and a massive 8.7% rise in 2023. That shift was the result of an inflation level not seen in 40 years. Around 75 million people who receive Social Security benefits. That number includes retirees and those with disabilities. Cost of living adjustments are made each year to keep Social Security benefits on par with inflation. Social Security agency officials made the 2026 announcement on Friday after hesitating to announce it a week earlier due to the government shutdown. Can we resistance train the brain the way that we do the body to keep it running healthier for longer? NTD Stephanie Cox sat down with Vital Signs' Brendon Fallon for Insight. Watch.
I'm joined in studio now by NTD Health correspondent and host of Vital Signs, Brendon Fallon. Vital Signs offers natural and nutritional ways of optimizing our health. Brendon, it's nice to see you.
Great to see you, Steph.
Gosh, what do you have for us today?
Today, I want to talk about the topic of, like, brain health is a big thing nowadays. We see a lot of YouTubers and everything talking about how we can enhance brain health. It's not surprising because we have an escalating rate of Alzheimer's disease.
Oh.
So there's a study that always kind of really fascinated me. It's called the Nun Study. This goes back to the 90s. And they looked at 325 nuns from the Sisterhood of the Notre Dame Sisterhood in America. And they found some very interesting findings. One was that the nuns who spoke 4 or more languages, they developed dementia 6% of the time, compared to the nuns who only spoke 1 language, who developed it 30% of the time. So this idea that the way we engage our brains throughout our lives has an impact on how the brain ages in a healthy direction or not. I wanted to dig into this, so I found Dr. Daniel Monti the perfect person to ask about this. He's an integrative medicine doctor. He's also he founded the integrative medicine and nutritional science department at Thomas Jefferson University. So he's right there in the middle of looking at medicine and these holistic things like nutritional science and even traditional Chinese medicine to find answers to diseases. So I wanted to ask him about this nun study and what he thought about it.
Brilliant. Let's hear what he had to say.
I think that when people have more educational background, they tend to stay engaged with things that require different parts of activation of the brain. Now, it isn't necessarily a function of education if it's something that you just think about. Because, I have the tale of two grandmothers. I told you about the one. I had another grandmother who had a very different trajectory. She's somebody that had no education. She was a farmer and raised on a farm, only went to elementary school and then worked on the family farm. But she loved working in her garden until her 90s. It gave her joy. She was engaged in doing something. She, in the winter months, loved to do big jigsaw puzzles. Did them from as early as I could remember. She'd get me to do puzzles with her when I was a little kid. She liked doing crossword puzzles. She was just somebody who liked to do those things, and she somehow knew it was important to keep doing them. She would say things to me, even when I was too young to understand it. Well, I've got to keep my brain engaged. I don't want to lose my brain.
It's like an instinct.
Yeah, she had a good instinct about that, and it turns out she's correct. The most recent data, a study, big prospective study that just came out in the last year, showed that when people engage proactively in brain games, so to speak, computer type games, that it has a very protective effect against dementia. People who did those things had a 20% lower incidence rate of dementia.
Fascinating. So, this actually plugs nicely into some concerns I've been reading about recently in terms of people using AI more and more and depending on it, and that causing them to have less brain engagement in their day-to-day life. And, there are concerns about where that might end up, say, in old age.
Sure. Yeah, and I speak to Dr. Monti about 9 different kind of strategies around like resistance training for the brain in this interview. One of the ones we talk about is screen time, like how this has a negative effect on the brain. And I think it kind of comes down to what kind of technology we're talking about using, because some of these apps, studies have shown them to be effective and to actually be good for the way the brain ages and enhancing brain capacity.
Yeah, and as the doctor mentioned, there are some, there's evidence of that too, as you mentioned, with brain training programs. So we're also, I know you're also looking at brain health from another point of view, from the physical resistance training that you can do. What have you found there?
That's right. And this is something I've seen Dr. Monti talk about quite a bit, so I wanted to ask him about it. And it's also because he's a psychiatrist as well as an integrative medicine doctor. And he talks often about the benefit of exercise to mental health. And it's been shown very widely how much exercise can be a barrier against developing mental health problems, anxiety, depression. And so I wanted to ask him why is this the case? Why is it also a way to prevent, a way to support healthier brain aging? How this works, and for people out there, particularly older people who want to get into this, perhaps they haven't done it most of their lives, how they might approach this in a safe way.
All right.
It is one of the most protective things we can do. We have to think about activity level, exercise, wherever you are now, do more and do as much as you can for as long as you can, because it is one of the most predictive things for a healthier, longer life, including your cognitive life. The blood flow to the brain is completely affected by exercise. The vascular tone that you have, the blood vessels, is affected by exercise. These are all things critical to your brain health.
And given this is such a big factor, I can see it might be daunting to some people as they're aging. They might be concerned about doing damage to themselves. Do you have some general advice for someone as they're getting older, how they'd approach that, perhaps if they haven't done a lot throughout their lives?
Doing anything is better than doing nothing. So there's been studies to show that even walking a mile every day makes a big difference. There's a lot of people who the most walking they do is from their bedroom to the living room and then back to their bedroom. And they're not getting much other activity, especially once they get into those older years. But for some people, a walk might be enough. Having an exercise equipment in the house that is something that they can maneuver and get on easily, and those kinds of things might be the answer. Going to classes where at senior centers, community centers, where you can be with other older people and you're moving around, doing everything from light exercise to Tai Chi.
Even with just a walk down the street and one language, you can have quite a good time. All right, thank you so much, Brendon Fallon.
Thanks, Steph.
And the holidays are just around the corner, starting with Halloween, but with trick-or-treating also comes a long shopping list. The National Retail Federation is projecting celebrators may spend over $100 this year for Halloween, and costumes take up most of that budget. Here are some of this season's top savings tips, according to a costume pro.
A great costume, good costume, is first commitment to what you're going to do. First, go to your closet, see what's in there. Ask a friend, ask a neighbor, find out also what you're going for. You don't want to just go in there with no concept. So first get a concept, an idea, but be open to being flexible. Go into your closet. If you can't find anything in your closet, the next cheap thing is a thrift store.
Besides costumes, shopping pros suggest buying home decor from secondhand shops and discount retailers such as Home Goods and TJ Maxx. Another reminder, these decorations can always be reused in the years to come. As for candy, prices have gone up over 8% compared to last year, but one way to find good deals is to buy in bulk straight from a warehouse. If you're looking for a variety of sweet treats, simply get your neighbors together and swap. Beyond that, always keep an eye out for candy sales at local grocery stores. Many stores mark down their candy prices on Halloween Day. Even with those tips, official data estimates this year's Halloween spending will reach a record high, over $13 billion. Coming up, kids, construction companies, and volunteers are coming together for a unique competition in San Francisco on how Sandcastle building is helping raise funds for education. And with the hustle and bustle of modern life, one ancient institution is still standing strong, Athenaeums. Find out how these historic libraries continue to offer a sense of belonging and remains a living museum of knowledge. That and more after this quick break. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. It's time to celebrate one of America's favorite flavors, decorations, and maybe superfoods. It's all out pumpkin season, and today marks National Pumpkin Day. This humble squash has long been associated with Halloween for jack-o'-lanterns, but it's also gotten wildly popular as a dish. Everything from pies to coffees can be flavored with pumpkin, and you can even eat the seeds. The indulgence is healthy because pumpkins are loaded with nutrients. They're also safe for furry friends. A unique building competition is making waves in San Francisco. This weekend, sandcastles have taken over a mile-long stretch of beach. Here's more on how kids, construction companies, and volunteers are making it happen.
Students and volunteers found a sensational way to spend the weekend at San Francisco's Ocean Beach. They came together for the annual Leap Sandcastle Classic.
Yeah, so what you'll see behind me is a mile of sandcastles. We have 20 teams composed of architects, engineers, and construction companies who've gone into the classrooms in San Francisco to come up with a sandcastle design. And then the students and the professionals all come out to Ocean Beach to build their designs together and compete for Best in Show. All of the funds raised as part of this event help benefit Leap Arts and Education, which is a nonprofit that provides arts education to students around the Bay Area.
The event brought together students, professionals, and families to build massive sand sculptures and support arts education in Bay Area public schools.
This is really the closest fundraising event to what we do as an industry. As a building industry, we bring into reality what we envisioned, and we work in teams. And so this event allowed the students to dream and then put their vision into reality.
This year's theme was Level Up, celebrating the world of video games. From classic arcade games to mobile favorites, the sandcastles qualified the next level.
when they come here, they have to work in teams, and I think you can see the smile on their face when they see what they have actually accomplished becomes a reality.
Thousands of local 3rd through 5th graders, along with professionals from over 100 architecture, design, and tech companies, teamed up to create larger-than-life sculptures, all while raising funds to keep arts education alive in Bay Area schools.
And you have to add a lot of water for it to stand up and be stable so it doesn't dry out. You also have to have a lot of patience in case it falls.
I think it's very cool because I'm really into games and it's like about pixels. And why I think it's really fun, because I get to like help out and interact with my classmates.
The event helps raise over $300,000 to provide arts education for nearly 10,000 Bay Area students.
And some sad news from Hollywood. Legendary actress June Lockhart has died. Her family says she died in Santa Monica, California on Thursday from natural causes. Her daughter and granddaughter were by her side when she died. Lockhart was 100 years old. Her career spanned decades. She starred on stage, in movies, and on television. Her films included A Christmas Carol and Meet Me in St. Louis. However, she may be best remembered for 2 iconic roles. She played the mom in the classic TV series Lassie, and she was cast as the mother of space colonists in the hit TV show Lost in Space. Lockhart had more than 150 film and TV credits. She had 2 stars on Hollywood's Walk of Fame, one for movies, the other for television. Matcha has become popular across the globe, featured in lattes, teas, ice creams, and even cocktails. On top of flavor, some people are turning to the ingredient for its health benefits. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the finely ground Japanese green tea.
Tea ceremony instructor Keiko Kaneko uses a small wooden spoon to place a dot of matcha into a porcelain bowl. She brews the Japanese green tea with hot water and a bamboo whisk.
The spirit and philosophy of Japanese culture are concentrated in one bowl of matcha. I am very pleased that matcha has been introduced in many other cultures and been appreciated around the world.
Matcha is a type of tea that's grown in shade, steamed, and then finely ground. Global Japanese Tea Association founder Anna Poyon explains the traditional version.
It's a very delicate and complex tea. So that is produced with the idea to be drunk only with water, which is, well, the traditional way, like in the tea ceremony. Even if you don't have it in a tea ceremony, but just even at home for yourself.
Poyon is hesitant about matcha's global appeal, not because of its popularity, but because she's a purist.
If you mix that delicate tea with other things, with milk, with other ingredients, with sugar and so on, all these other ingredients will cover the taste of the tea. So it's a bit of a shame.
But that isn't stopping large coffee purveyors like Starbucks. Its matcha creme frappuccino is made with additions including whole milk, whipped cream, and syrup, one of many popular iterations of the traditional beverage. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
One of Taiwan's most well-known wartime attractions is echoing with a different sound, attracting visitors with cellos and violins.
One of Taiwan's best-known wartime attractions echoes with music for the annual Kinmen Tunnel Music Festival. Cellist Chang Chen-che is the festival's art director.
We've given this tunnel a new life. It's more than just a tourist spot that people look at and move on. We've created a life for the tunnel, hoping that when people walk in, they'll feel the music. The music tells the story of this tunnel, music that speaks of the preciousness of peace, and music that carries its message to the world.
Built during the height of the Cold War, the Zaisan Tunnel was right on Taiwan's front line with China to shelter supply boats from Chinese artillery shells. The festival included 6 shows over 2 days in mid-October, with all 1,200 tickets selling out in 2 minutes.
I was genuinely moved, not only by the sound and the echo from the tunnel, but also because I could hear the waves coming from outside. That powerful, overwhelming feeling is really hard to put into words. It's something you can only experience by being there in person.
And with with the hustle and bustle of modern life, one ancient institution is still standing strong: Athenaeums. Think library, museum, and community all rolled into one. And one of the oldest and most distinguished member-supported libraries is the Boston Athenaeum.
The Athenaeum was founded in 1807, and with many of the same aims that exist now. It was founded as a way for people to interact with each other and to be able to pool their resources and get more knowledge.
One of the most beautiful things about it is you do feel like, and in a lot of ways you are in a museum, but it's a museum you get to not feel like you're a visitor in all the time, but really a part of. Post-COVID, post all this work from home, everyone's looking for community, and I guess the kids like to say third spaces, and it really feels like that to me. This is sort of my home away from home.
Called Athenaeums, a Greek word meaning Temple of Athena, these institutions often played a vibrant role in communities. This 218-year-old Boston Athenaeum is one of nearly 20 private libraries across the country. It's tucked behind Boston Common and boasts over 500,000 books. While libraries provide information to the public, Athenaeums also play a cultural role in communities and often rely on member support. Once exclusive spaces for the elite, many New England Athenaeums have evolved into community hubs where visitors can read, research family history, or attend discussions and art exhibits. With its neoclassical design, centuries-old books and artworks, the Athenaeum remains a living museum of knowledge. And with the city of Boston, once dubbed the Athens of America, visitors to the Athenaeum are greeted with a 7-foot-tall bronze statue of Athena, a tribute to the goddess of wisdom. And that's all for today's news. Round-the-clock coverage. Visit us at ntd.com/live or download our NTD app. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Good night.